Hey everyone, welcome back to Tilly Talks Tech. I'm your host Tilly and I talk all things tech, cool people in tech, and the awesome advancements we've been seeing recently. I'm going to cut to the chase for this episode because we actually have a Bionic Popstar joining us, and I must say I'm such a fan. The person joining me today is quite literally been the blueprint for cyborgs in creative spaces like music, fashion. She is truly such a role model and a badass. My guest today is proof that strength doesn't just come from surviving challenges, it comes from reinventing yourself through them. She's a singer, a model, and performance artist who took her health journey and turned it into one of the most powerful creative statements of our generation. She's known worldwide for her futuristic style, groundbreaking prosthetics, and fearless exploration of what it means to be a modern cyborg. Listeners, meet the unstoppable Viktoria Modesta.
It's a future.
Welcome to the podcast, Viktoria. Thank you so much for joining. How are you feeling today?
Good. Yeah, I'm back home in sunny Malibu mountains after a long trip. So
Nice. You feel recharged?
yeah, I'm getting there. Yeah.
For the people who don't know your story, like, you are such an amazing, inspiring woman. Like, I've literally heard about you since like the moment I was wearing prosthetics. Like I was saying to you before I hit record, like, you really have inspired like my ideology of the future, and like that sort of aesthetic and your style I just think has always resonated with me, you know. For those who aren't as familiar with your story, if you could just tell us how, you know, maybe how you became an amputee and how that's influenced everything you're doing today.
Yeah, sure. I had like an accident at birth. I was coming out sideways when I was born, and so they kind of dislocated my hip and damaged my foot, and that has like led me to have probably about 12 reconstructive surgeries, like lengthening surgeries and all kinds of surgeries since age 6 to 12. So even though I had my leg, you know, I definitely had a lot of issues with my leg, a lot of pain, a lot of, you know, deformity. But, you know, I always felt just normal. I always felt it's just like me. And that time also like was really important because like all of my stints in hospital, like I definitely just checked out into like a bit of a fantasy land, and I loved Disney. I loved Hollywood movies, and I really didn't understand how people were lacking imagination around me. Why is it that in movies and fairy tales, you know, you're in a situation that you don't like and you just find a way to like transform that? So that was always kind of like core, you know. When I was like 12, we immigrated to London with my parents. And at that point, like I had 3 lengthening surgeries, and my leg was just like, it just really felt like it just didn't even belong to me. It just like made no sense. Didn't like match my confidence. It didn't match like what I wanted to do. So by like 15, I was already like really into fashion and performance, and I like found the subculture of London and definitely did a lot of things that I shouldn't have that were like, but that's the thing. It's like, you know, I bypassed like going to school and doing a lot of normal things. So I kind of like went from a hospital environment to like just being out in like subculture, and I was just trying to figure out like how to feel good about myself and how to feel like, you know, I have some sort of personal power. Definitely like all of my early life, people used to just look at me and just be like, oh my God, like, what are you gonna do with yourself, you know? And I was just like, wow, you know. And I think that disbelief and doubt from other people really did fuel me feeling like, well, that's so grim. Like surely they can't predict my whole life, which is how I felt. Right? A random person would just come up to me and feel like they knew how it was going to play out.
I get it completely.
Right. So when I was 15, I just like went to the surgeons in UK, and I was like, you know, I really would love to have an amputation. And that was such a fight, like for 5 years. It's your leg, it's yours, you know, like, why would you want to get rid of it? And there was so much emphasis in that, and nobody cared about the fact that like how much it hurt and how it stopped me from doing so many things like sports, going to the beach, wearing heels, like doing anything really. So it took 5 years of lots of conversations with other surgeons to eventually, I had my amputation when I was 20, and like a kind of like a whole Victoria Modesta world was sort of unleashed.
I love that. That's so cool because I'm 20 now.
Oh,
So it's like,
wow.
yeah, like me imagining like having hands my whole life and then 20. I feel like 20 is such like a crucial age. Like you're at the start of quote unquote like, your 20s, the best years of your life or whatever like that. It's such a big decision, but like you say, it's your body and you're gonna feel better and it's gonna propel you forward and also get rid of all the stigma that you don't sort of associate with. I think that's amazing that you just really took that into your own hands and were like, no, please, like, let me sign this off, let me get this amputation. Like, you really stepped into this whole world, which I'm obsessed with, by the way. And I feel like we're very, very similar in that regard. I think this was another time that I like rekindled with your story a little bit, was because I had that leg lengthening operation when I was about 12, I think it was. And I hated it, like, so bad. And it was like, you had multiple, I just can't even imagine that. But I actually remember going into that operation and you have all these questions and the doctor was just like, oh, well, it'll be an adventure. I can't tell you exactly what will happen, but sign the dotted line and we'll try our best. I was like, ah. So it really resonated with me when you were like, they were facing you with like more of these procedures and you were just like, you know what? I've had it. Let's try something new. And when it comes to prosthetics and things like that, were you like straight into the prosthetics game? What was that sort of evolution like for you?
Yeah, I mean, with prosthetics, part of your image, part of your body,
Mm.
like it needs to be designed, it needs to be thought through. And I was so into fashion and design and the power of it. Very early on, I mean, as soon as I had my amputation, I launched into the thing that I really wanted to do the most, which is wear heels. Like
Mm.
I swear from the age of like 20 for the next like 10 years, I was in like my drag queen period because I was like so repressed when I was younger. I just loved this idea of sort of ultra femme, just heels, dresses, long nails, and I kind of and I really did that look to the extreme.
And you did it well as
Thank
well.
you. Something that most people don't know about, and I did a lot of research on it. When I first got my high heel prosthetic, it was so much easier to walk on it.
Really?
Like, what are you talking about, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
turns out that the amount of force that it takes for you to roll from heel to toe is so much. So when your leg is quite weak, when you're in heels, you're just doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to just wear heels all the time at the beginning, but I also got into art prosthetics like very quickly. There's a team of makers in Roehampton Hospital who actually worked on the Alexander McQueen show, the Savage Beauty one with all the leather pieces. They worked on that show. So one of the first legs that I had made was this really high heel leg that was covered in new leather with stitching, and it was amazing. Like it was out of this world, and it wasn't high tech, but it was state of the art when it comes to like craftsmanship.
Yeah, definitely. And that's so cool that you actually, like, all you want to do is wear high heels. And that's something girls with, like, normal feet struggle with, right? And all of a sudden, like, it's actually easier for you to walk in these heels. Like, that's kind of a flex.
It's a flex. I definitely felt like, I won the lottery a little bit. The ultimate thing underneath it all, right? Because a lot of people wonder, like, how did you have the bravery to do it and stuff like that? And it didn't feel like a brave decision for me. It felt like an essential, like I have to do it if I am going to live.
I'm like literally so proud of you that you actually just broke free from that and did your own thing. And you really did do your own thing. Like I said, I've been seeing like your stuff within music and modeling particularly ever since I was super, super young. And one of the first videos I saw was when you had like the spike leg. I think it was the music video for your song Prototype. I remember my mom coming to me with that video and being like, Tilly, look at this. Like she just knew I would love it like that. And I was just watching this like on loop. I was like,
oh my god, the future is here, the future is now, I want one even though I've got a normal leg. Like, I just wanted to know how that process was, like whether you were involved in that design process, but also how it was like in music and expressing yourself to a whole new level through that.
In the prototype song and video, I was so charged, like with this energy, like I just had to break, move the waves apart and kind of just make a statement. I think for me, that was like a definition of what like a punk energy is. For me, that was like, that's how you sort of fuse like art, activism, and punk vibe together. I was making music at that point for several years, and, I would just go into various parts of the entertainment industry, and people were just like, what does this mean? I mean, like, you look really, really cool and you have this pop star thing going on, but like, what's up with this flag, And at the beginning of my music career, like, I just didn't even like make a statement out of it. Like, I just wore like a really realistic looking prosthetic. And I think, and by that point I've done the Paralympic closing ceremony, right? Which was the first time that I realized that my approach and attitude to like being like the architect of your body and redesigning your body was somehow different to what was happening. It felt, I was like, I'm onto something. So when the prototype opportunity came, I was just so lucky that there were people around me who saw that and supported that, and they were like, okay, let's do more of that. No one expected for it to be as famous as it got. And so the message in there and all of the intention, all of the designs was so pure. Like, it was very like, I felt like my life depended on it, energy that went into it. Like, I felt like, well, I'm going to do this and I have no idea what's going to happen after that, but like, something has to change. You know what I mean?
That must have been so amazing. Like, as a creative person, like you are, like all you ever wanted to do is like express yourself like this. Like, you've now got this prosthetic leg, and even that's been like a tool for expression. And now there's like this whole team and this whole production. Like, I imagine that would be like so energizing. And yeah, you're right, it went super viral. I mean, I was at home watching it, and like it was probably like a big part of the reason that I'm even interested in the things I'm interested in now. Crazy, like proper full circle moment for me getting to speak with you and like work with you on these projects now. I just feel like you should know that.
I like that. I think it's been almost 10 years since it's been 10 years since Prototype got released. And I have to say that I'm finally, like, I knew that it sent out ripples, right? Because I spoke to a lot of people, but I'm really starting to see the effect of it now, right? Like, so many people like yourself who have matured their practice and their voice into something unique. So it's, I can't even describe what that feels like.
Honestly, you're the blueprint. I said that in the intro that you haven't heard yet, but you're literally the blueprint, 100%. I feel like you're like mother, right? Like, you brought us up. It's crazy. You've mentioned that you did the Paralympic closing ceremony, which is awesome. I was wondering, when it comes to like live performances, if you have any like pre-show rituals, maybe if that's like prosthetic related, like maybe you had to charge it or something, or just what you do to like get in the zone. Like, talk me through a day on tour as Viktoria Modesta.
Oh man, I mean, each day is never the same. Every show is unique, and everything is so like custom, right? Because I'm working with prosthetics and visuals and stuff. Each time the venue has different size screens or floors and things like that, right? So it's always been very, very custom and very complicated. Like, I love to work with a pretty big team. So, some of my productions, would have assistant creative directors and choreographers, and depending on what kind of tech I'm wearing, there might be a designer and a coder, or someone like an engineer that comes along.
Standby team.
Yeah, so it really depends depends. And that's like one of the best parts of about my career, honestly, is just the fact that like, you know, going into the office is like never the same for me, you know? And, you know, and I think also like, I just really value each like expressive medium and for what it has to offer, like working with movement. You know, it's been very special to sort of craft and polish different types of performances and different types of things. Like, what does this performance need? You know, should I write a song up for it? Should I, you know, should it be very abstract sound and much more about the shape of the body? You know, what the prototype Spike dance was about, right? Very minimal in a way. It was like the shape of the body, the energy, and the sound, and like nothing else. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like, I honestly feel very blessed to be as curious as I've managed to stay. Somebody quoted a quote that I said recently that imagination is the strongest weapon against reality.
Is that on your Instagram bio?
Yeah, and I wrote it down. I was just like, oh my God. I was like, and I actually don't think it's my quote. I think it's a quote from some kind of a writer. So I need to Google who it was from. But it's like, yes, you know, and I think that I think just, you know, my curiosity to just be like, okay, well, you know, this seems like it's impossible. Like, it seems impossible to be in zero gravity with 3-dimensional limbs that are floating that are attached.
Just a typical day in Viktoria Modesta life.
Yeah, it's, yeah. And, you know, and I think going back to even like the surgery, you know, is like life is so hard, really, like especially when it comes to like medical stuff. It's so hard, and if you can find a way to make it feel fun or exciting or interesting and just shift the focus away from just like the grind of it, like it's so great. It's like the biggest gift, you know?
Exactly. It's like turning the pain into power, right? And like making it fun and beautiful and something that you really want to do. That's what I love about like experimenting and accentuating my prosthetics and like covering them in glitter and whatever. Like, we can. And you know what? It took a lot to like get here, so why not cover it in glitter, you know? And you have had so many epic legs. Like, did you ever get to the point where you were like, you had like a wardrobe full and you were like, which leg am I gonna wear today? Or did you have a favorite?
I do have a whole closet, and you know, what the nature of a lot of my prosthetics is they turn into like art pieces, and they're not for everyday use.
Sure.
So with my day-to-day prosthetics, I had my staple prosthetic, which was just like covered in chrome, and it was just like a mirror chrome silver prosthetic, and I love that, you know. And I think like I always balance between how much time I spend intentionally thinking about prosthetics or being part of like disability conversation and all of that stuff, and how much of it like is just I just want to do wild, amazing, fun things, right? When it comes to like my day-to-day life, I try to not focus on the leg as much as possible. I think it's part of that personal relationship of like, for many, many years, I created almost like a superhero version of myself, right? Which is super fun, but it doesn't hinder you, right? Because I was just, oh my God, I was like, you know, I can't be that person all the time. You know, so I had to kind of understand that, you know, my wardrobe of Cinderella-like prosthetics and objects don't define who I am, even though lovely, you know, the girl with a spike leg, very cool, right? But ultimately I am a person, and I have like my life when I'm walking dogs or I'm doing something else, you know? So I think that, you know, that was a whole like level of psychology that I didn't anticipate getting into, but it's shifted. So since I've had my osseointegration, I'm figuring out what that means, because I have always been like, oh, you know, I go and I reach for the object and it becomes part of me and it gives me the superpowers and all that stuff. but I am like no longer a Cinderella with a sliver that transforms me, right?
Sure, yeah, that makes sense.
It's part of me now, and I don't know yet what that means, but I do know that it's very different. It's changed me somehow.
Hmm.
That's why, when people talk about, disability or accessibility, or or even what it means to be an amputee, I'm like, it is so multifaceted, like how it impacts us human beings with an artificial limb, like what that does, like how powerful design is, and what it means for the rest of the world, right? What it means, like, it's really complex and layered, and I think that that's the part that's really cool, and I think that gives people like me the ground to like go in so many directions, right, with
Yeah.
fun experiments.
I mean, the podcast is called Tilly Talks Tech. Like, that is, like you're saying, such a range of topics. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like that's really interesting what you were saying. Like, being a creative person, you want to put all this out into the world, and we do love the aesthetic, and you make these creative productions. But then you're also like a person and like doing day-to-day things as well. And I feel like it like begs the conversation of like, sometimes we do so much online and in the digital world, like you do just need to take a step back and be like, yeah, but like I'm me outside of that as well. I feel like the more we get online and the more digital that we get in the metaverse and all of this, I feel like that's going to be a topic that comes up like a lot more, because people are lost in the universe, never mind the metaverse. Like, we're bringing in a whole new metaverse. It's going to be crazy.
And I think that something that I think you have firsthand experience is, people are really afraid that artificial extensions to their body and identity somehow like make them less human, right? Or somehow like turn them into something else, right? And that's just like such a big myth. And I think that, I really genuinely believe that for me, it's been the other way around. Like, I've just been able to be like, get in touch with my inner self and get really in touch with my body, and in a way that like an average person is just not tempted to, right? I think that when you go through a body transformation, you realize that you have to pay attention, you have to work with your body, you have to understand what it all means on a much deeper level.
It's proper intrinsic, and like I love speaking to people who've been through a transformation like that, because it's not something that I think a lot of people get. Like, you lived your life a certain way, you fought through so much, which obviously ages you like mentally, because you've had to deal with so much trauma. But then I feel like I was speaking to somebody else, and they were saying that people with disabilities are naturally like really, really creative as well, because we're having to constantly think outside the box and adapt to like our surroundings more so than the average person, and it just creates this like beautiful, well-rounded mind. I think it's so cool. I love what you were saying about artificial intelligence and how, a lot of people do find it a little bit daunting, and that you don't feel that, and I love that. And it brings me on to the next sort of topic, because this is your latest project. Is it called Meta Bodies? For everyone listening, this is what Victoria called me in on, and I was like, I got on the call with her, and she had all these images of my face and things in like the coolest shapes, and I was like, what is going on? But I love it. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that new project, how that came about, and yeah, what are you like trying to achieve with it? What inspired it?
Yeah, definitely. So pretty like about 3 years ago, I started just experimenting with all the AI technology that's out there. So even starting 3 years ago, I would go and just start making conceptual designs for like a mood board. And it kind of and it really evolved to the point where I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, I started making images of people and environments and design things, and hybrid body mobility / like music instruments, whatever it was. I started making these images, and I was like, this just doesn't even exist, right? I had the power to, put people from, an ethnicity background or a body shape into these amazing sci-fi scenarios that I've never seen out there. So it was so powerful, but the technology didn't really come to a point where I could really make images of myself or someone else. So for many years, it was kind of like, okay, I'm making these amazing fantasy images, which I didn't even know what I was going to do with them, but then literally, I hit a stumbling block, right? I already had my osseointegration and leg lengthening, and it turns out that my femur just did not want to fuse together.
I've been there. I had that exact problem also.
I was distracted by 2 inches, and it was just like, nope. And here I was like, biology is not destiny, here's my and it's like, yep, biology, the same biology that was when I was born, just whatever it is in the bone, it just didn't want to grow. So I was like pretty devastated, and I was just like, oh my God, I was like, okay, I'm gonna need another surgery, and this was earlier this year. And so I just went back into the computer, and the tech advanced so much. So I took all the images that I've been creating of all different styles, and I trained my AI models on those styles. I trained it on my face, and I started experimenting with making images. And it was just such a thrill, because for the first time I was able to sort of explore the really wild feelings that I was having and kind of just manifest them in these images. So the Metabodies collection is really exploring the future of the human body in visual terms. And that's thinking about defying gravity, that's thinking about defying mobility, and really bringing all of my experience of fashion and kind of real design and science together, right? Some of these things look fictional, but there is some truth behind them. And which brings me on to, the images of you, because AI as a creative tool for this specific purpose, right? I'm looking at visualizing a community of people who don't get cast in those, sci-fi commercials or movies, who don't have access to, Balenciaga styling team, right? And it's an opportunity to create some imagery to really just be like, it should exist. It should exist, and it will exist, And so you were like the definite next subject that came to my mind, because I was like, okay, it doesn't take a big stretch of imagination to see how you can go from where you are right now. It's like, and plus that up. It was such a pleasure. And I'm really slowly releasing the Metabodies collection in pieces right now. I'm starting with self-portraits at the moment, which are actually probably the wildest imagery that feels for me since Prototype. First release for that was called Bend, and it's an image that really just summed up how painful patience is while I was going through all these surgeries. I'm staying patient, I'm practicing meditation. So that image specifically for me was just this is how absurd it feels to be just in bits, in parts.
Yeah.
And waiting for something to happen until my life starts again. The way that AI design can be used for the good, really.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And like I said, I'm flattered and honored that I jumped on the call with you and got to see even the previews. It was super, super duper exciting. Thanks for showing us a new form of art. I can't wait for you to release more and for the world to see it. However, we're coming to the end now, and I just have 2 quick fire questions for you if you want to do that.
Sure.
So first one is, describe the future, how you see it, in 3 words.
Embodied, deep, and connected.
I love that. That's awesome. And lastly, For anyone listening who's maybe going through some medical challenges themselves or are just struggling and want to feel more like powerful in their skin like you so clearly are, what advice would you give to those people?
Actually, you asking me what I would recommend to somebody that's going through a hard time is like such a heartfelt question for me. I used to take it really lightly, but like I've spent 16 months in recovery recently, so it's really close to home.
Yeah.
And honestly, I mean, for me, there is like a handful of things. First, find your supporters. Find people who just give you that little bit of extra strength, that little bit of extra confidence, whoever that is, whether that's, whether that's a video online, whether that's a professional person or a friend or family. I think it's really, really important. And I think also just like allow yourself to have bad days. It's totally fine. It's totally fine to feel really crap. And sometimes you have to like go all the way to the bottom to feel good again. There are always things that will help propel you forward. You just really need to find them, and I think it's really different for each person. For me, it has been art and the feeling of like, oh, I should be able to transform this, right? And whatever it is, like, you just have to keep like the search for that, and know that everything that feels really bad, like, it will come to an end and it will change, no matter how horrendous it is.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much. I appreciate that so much. And I think that will really hit some people in the heart. I know I definitely would have loved to hear it when I was going through similar operations. Thank you so much, Viktoria. You've been amazing. I think you're a phenomenal woman, have done for like my whole life. So again, thank you so much for joining. And for anybody who does want to follow your journey or your next project, where can we find you on socials?
Oh, honestly, you can find me on all of the different things. My YouTube channel, I love being on Instagram, LinkedIn. Yeah, just the rabbit hole of like my Viktoria Modesta world is like pretty deep. And of course, Spotify too. Like,
hell yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Viktoria. All the best in your next project. I cannot wait to see my own images and all the new ones to come. Thank you.
Oh yeah, that's right. And go and check out Metabodies. Metabodies.ai. And we will release your images very soon, so I'm pretty psyched.
Thank you. Have a lovely day.
All right. Bye.
Oh my god, that was so cool. Like I said, I've looked up to Viktoria since I was like a little girl. I remember seeing her like video of the prototype music video where she was walking around with that spike leg, and that is honestly one of the videos that triggered the whole transformation in my head. And now we have all these beautiful prosthetics on the wall, as you could see. Like, oh, she's the blueprint. Like I said, she's the blueprint. I really hope you did enjoy this episode. If you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure to follow Viktoria Modesta, and you can also follow me on socials as well. Let me know some more superstars that we need to get on the podcast soon. Yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, and I will see you all next time.